The day began like any other. Children played in the parks. People drove to work. Birds flew across blue skies. No one knew that peace was ending. No one looked up until it was too late. At 9:41 a.m., the sky broke open. Without warning, a dark shadow covered the sun. Giant ships appeared above Earth. Not one or two. Hundreds. Long, silver, and silent. They floated like mountains in the sky, casting darkness over every major city. New York, Beijing, Paris, Mumbai, Cairo. The world froze. People looked up. Cars crashed. Phones dropped. Some screamed. Others simply stared, unable to understand what they were seeing. The ships made no sound. No explosions. No light. Just silence and shadow. Then a voice spoke, not from a speaker, not from the ships. It entered every phone, every radio, every screen. Do not resist. We are the Galactic Empire. This planet is now under our protection. You will be relocated. Do not resist. The message repeated in every language. Calm, cold, inhuman. World leaders tried to respond, but nothing worked. Satellites were blocked. Military bases were silent. Fighter jets launched but disappeared from radar within seconds. Earth's most powerful nations couldn't even touch the sky. People panicked. Some ran. Others prayed. But no help came. The world's armies were blind and deaf. In the Empire's main command ship, High Commander Virak stood tall, arms behind his back, watching Earth's chaos on a hologram. He laughed. Primitive species, he said. No shields. No fleet. This will be over in hours. His officers agreed. Earth had no defense in space, no weapons that could hurt them. It was like crushing ants. But something was strange. One of the officers looked confused. Sir, there's a signal from the southern pole. Antarctica. Virak frowned. What kind of signal? The officer typed quickly. We don't know. Not from human satellites. Deep underground. Encrypted. Virak raised an eyebrow. Ignore it. Useless noise. Begin the land drop. Soon, hundreds of drop pods launched from the ships. They fell fast, like metal comets, into Earth's biggest cities. Troops from the Empire stepped out in full armor, weapons ready. They expected panic. Screaming crowds. Weak resistance. But the cities were quiet. Empty streets. No soldiers. No civilians. Only the sound of the wind. Where are they? One alien soldier asked. Then came the first strike. One squad in London vanished. No sound. No signal. Just gone. In Tokyo, a team of 6 was found minutes later. Their armor was crushed. No sign of bullets. Their helmets smashed from the inside. In Rio, drones caught something strange. Fast-moving shadows tearing through buildings like paper. The video feed went black in seconds. Commander Virak stared at the reports. What is this? He asked. No one answered. Get me visuals. Get me. He stopped. A new signal came in. Not human. Not Empire. It was old. Older than the Empire itself. And it was coming from inside Earth. A deep, pulsing tone. Like something. Waking up. Back on Earth, deep in the ice of Antarctica, a giant door was opening. Machines hidden for centuries were powering on. Symbols glowed on ancient stone walls. In a dark room, a figure stepped out. Human, but not ordinary. His eyes glowed faint blue. His voice echoed through a chamber. They broke the sky, he said. Wake the others. Across the planet, underground vaults opened. Places long forgotten by human history. Places not even governments knew about. And from them, strange forces began to rise. Back in space, Virak watched the chaos grow. More troops lost. More pods offline. One of his generals spoke in fear. Sir, permission to retreat ground forces. Denied. Virak snapped. They're farmers with guns. Finish it. But another officer shouted, "Sir, new message coming from Earth. Direct transmission. No source." The voice played across the ship. "You brought war to our home. Now we bring death to yours." Then silence. Commander Virak stared at the screen. For the first time in his life, he felt cold. Earth was supposed to be weak, primitive. But now, something ancient was moving beneath the soil. Something the Empire didn't understand. Something they had just awakened. And somewhere, far below, the humans were no longer running. They were hunting. The Empire had never lost a first strike. Every world they invaded fell quickly. Their soldiers were stronger. Their weapons were faster. Their fleets were unbeatable. So when Earth went silent after the first attack, the Empire did not worry. They thought humans were just hiding, waiting to surrender. But something was wrong. In New York, the alien squads marched through empty streets. Buildings stood tall, untouched. Cars were still parked. But no people. It was too quiet. The air felt heavy. One alien raised his scanner. No life signals. Then a shadow moved. One soldier turned, but it was already too late. A long, sharp blade came from the darkness. No gunfire. No warning. In seconds, the entire squad was gone. Only their helmets were left, cracked open from the inside. The same happened in Paris, in Moscow, in Shanghai. Whole teams vanished. Alien commanders watched the feeds with confusion. One by one, video streams turned black. No noise, no explosions, just nothing. Commander Virak slammed his fist on the table. "What is going on down there?" "They are being hunted, sir," said one officer, his voice shaking. "Hunted? By what?" The answer came seconds later, a hacked message on their main screen. It was simple, cold. "You invaded the wrong planet." Virak stared. Where is this message coming from? The officers worked fast, trying to trace the signal. It was everywhere, as if Earth itself was speaking. "We don't know," one said. "It's coming from multiple points, underground, underwater, even from your own ships." That's when the lights flickered. For a moment, the command ship's control center went dark. Across the fleet, systems began to fail. Not weapons, not shields. Something worse, communication. The aliens could no longer talk to each other. Each ship was now alone. Panic spread. "Send the heavy walkers," Virak shouted. "Burn them out." Massive machines dropped to the ground. Towering mechs with enough firepower to destroy cities. They stomped through Earth's surface, firing into forests, buildings, anything that moved. But again, something strange happened. The machines stopped responding. One by one, they shut down. Drones flying above showed the truth. Giant vines and roots had wrapped around their legs and arms. Nature itself had risen. Earth was fighting back, not with bombs, but with its own body. The Empire had never seen this before. In the Amazon jungle, a squad of elite alien hunters tried to capture a human alive. They chased one man through the trees. He was small, unarmed, wearing only black clothes. They laughed. Primitive. He led them deeper into the forest, then stopped. The aliens surrounded him. But before they could move, he whispered, "Now." Explosions came from every side. The trees themselves lit up with hidden charges. The aliens tried to escape, but they were caught in traps. Old, simple human tricks, but deadly. Only one alien survived. He crawled back to his ship, wounded and scared. His last report: "They used the planet as a weapon. Everything is a trap. We're not the hunters. We're the prey." Back in orbit, the Empire began to understand. These humans were not weak. They were patient. They were quiet. And they were killing without mercy. Virak stood still, his face pale. "This was supposed to be easy," he said softly. The officer beside him whispered, "We should leave." But Virak shook his head. "No, not yet. Not until we find out what they really are." At that moment, a new video appeared on their screen. It showed a dark room. Inside was a figure, human, tall, covered in armor made of black stone. Behind him stood hundreds more, silent, waiting. The human looked straight at the camera. "We didn't start this war, but we will end it." The feed cut off. And now, for the first time in the Empire's long history, fear spread across the stars. The alien army thought Earth's cities would be easy to control. Tall buildings, wide roads, old machines. To them, everything looked weak. The soldiers walked through cities like kings. They laughed as they kicked over old cars and scanned empty houses. But something was not right. Every city felt strange, silent, cold, like the buildings were watching, like the streets were waiting. In Berlin, a patrol walked past a broken train station. Suddenly, all their lights went out. Night vision failed. Heat scanners went blank. They stopped, confused. Then one of them screamed. Something grabbed him from the roof. A second later, he was gone. The others fired in all directions, but nothing was there, just shadows. When the backup team arrived, they found no bodies, only gear, torn, burned, scattered. In Los Angeles, another squad entered a hospital. It looked empty, but inside, the walls were covered with writing, human writing. Painted in red, it said, "This is our home. Then, we are not afraid." And finally, "You will never see us coming." The alien commander felt uneasy. He gave the order to pull back. But the doors slammed shut. Steel gates dropped. Lights went red. Screams filled the building. No one made it out. The alien fleet watched as more squads vanished. Dozens at first, then hundreds. No gunfire, no enemy soldiers, just silence, and then nothing. They began to call them ghost cities. Places where no one returned, where signals died, where fear lived. High Commander Virak was furious. "They are just humans," he shouted. "Find them. Kill them." But his officers said nothing. They had seen the truth. The humans were not fighting like any species before. They used shadows. They used fear. They used Earth itself. In underground tunnels, human resistance groups were growing. They moved at night, through old subway systems and sewers. Hidden bases lit up. Secret weapons were armed. The aliens didn't know, but Earth had prepared. Not the governments, not the armies. The people. Hackers, engineers, retired soldiers, hunters, miners, farmers. People who had nothing left to lose. People who remembered stories, old ones, about Earth's monsters. And now, those monsters were awake. In one hidden base, deep in the Alps, a small girl sat near a fire. Her parents had been taken by the invaders. A soldier gave her a blanket. She looked up and whispered, "Will the monsters get them?" The soldier smiled sadly. "No. The monsters are on our side now." Back in orbit, Virak tried to understand. He called for a war council. Alien leaders from other planets joined. They watched Earth's situation with growing fear. "They have no fleet," one said, "no space weapons, but they are killing us." "They're not using technology," another said. "They're using rage." One elder alien leaned forward. "You've awoken something old, something that should have stayed buried." Virak shook his head. "They're just humans." The elder replied, "No, there's something else when pushed, something your empire has never faced." Virak did not listen. He ordered a full ground sweep. More troops dropped to Earth. They never returned. Some were pulled into the ground by traps. Some were hunted in forests by figures in old armor. Some were poisoned by the water they drank. And still, not a single human army had shown its face. Because this was not war. It was a message. You came to our world, it said, but you don't understand it. You don't understand us. And above, in the darkness of space, more alien ships began to hesitate. Messages spread across the galaxy. Words no one ever thought they would hear. Earth is not weak. Earth is not safe. Something terrible lies there. Back on the surface, under the old ruins of a lost city, a hidden human leader stood before a massive stone door. His team had just unlocked it. Behind it lay weapons from a time before written history. He turned to his team and said quietly, "We warned them. Now, we finish it." Under the mountains, deep below the surface, the humans found old tunnels. They weren't part of any modern city. These tunnels were ancient, older than anyone remembered. The walls were carved with strange symbols. There were no lights, no machines, just darkness and silence. But still, the humans walked deeper. Commander Hale led the team. He was a former Special Forces soldier. When the war began, he had disappeared. Now he had returned. People said he knew things, secret things. Behind him, a team of quiet, serious humans followed. Each one carried old weapons, nothing like the alien tech above. But they walked with purpose. At the end of the tunnel, they found a large stone door. It had no handle, no key, but Hale touched the center, and it began to open with a loud grinding sound. Cold air rushed out. Behind the door was a chamber, massive, dark, and in the middle stood a machine, tall as a building, covered in dust, silent. It looked dead, but Hale smiled. It's time. Back on the surface, the aliens were growing desperate. Their sensors showed human life signs everywhere, but they couldn't catch any. Their machines kept failing. Their weapons worked, but there was no one to shoot. And every day, more alien soldiers disappeared. High Commander Virak sat alone in the war room. He stared at a blinking red map. Red marks meant missing units. The screen was almost fully red. He whispered, "Where are they?" No one had answers. Then, reports came in. Earthquakes, mountains cracking open, strange energy rising from Earth's surface. They looked closer, and what they saw terrified them. All over the planet, hidden machines were waking up. Not made by current humans. These machines were older, made of black metal, shaped like beasts and demons. Some crawled from deep caves. Others rose from beneath oceans. One walked out from under the ice in Antarctica. The aliens scanned them, trying to understand. But no data made sense. These were not alien, and yet not completely human. Old Earth weapons, war machines made during a forgotten age, built to fight gods, locked away because they were too dangerous. And now, they were alive again. In orbit, alien ships prepared to fire at the machines. But before they could, something happened. The sky changed. Dark clouds formed in seconds. Lightning struck the alien fleet from below. Earth's atmosphere was fighting back. Alien weapons failed again. And then the machines moved. On the ground, in the cities and the oceans, they began to hunt. One alien soldier saw one coming. A giant, made of stone and fire. It didn't run. It walked. Slowly, like it had all the time in the world. The alien fired. The bullets bounced off. The creature raised one arm, and the entire squad turned to ash. In the command ship, Virak stood, frozen. "What are those things?" Someone asked. A whisper came from behind. It was the elder alien who had warned them before. He said, "Those are not machines. They are Earth's last defense. Ancient, waiting for the day someone broke the final rule." Virak's voice cracked. "What rule?" The elder looked at him, eyes dark. "Do not bring war to Earth." But it was too late. The machines spread across the planet. They didn't speak. They didn't show mercy. They didn't care who the aliens were. Only one thing mattered. They were invaders. One alien pilot tried to escape. His ship turned to flee. But in space, something huge appeared. It looked like a moon, but it moved. It had no engines, no heat, no sound. It was the oldest war machine of all. The humans called it the Sleeper. It had been above Earth for thousands of years, hiding in orbit, looking like just another rock. But now it was awake. The ship never made it out. It was swallowed in one blast of silent, dark energy. Across the galaxy, other species watched. They had seen Earth as weak, primitive, unimportant. Now they understood. Earth had buried its monsters, and someone, some fool, had made the mistake of waking them up. And the humans, they were not running. They were marching behind their monsters, ready to finish what had started. The war machines were not fast. They didn't need to be. They moved like giants, slow and steady, destroying everything in their path. Buildings fell. Alien tanks melted. Nothing stood in their way. Each machine was different. Some had wings like dragons. Others walked with 6 legs and claws. One looked like a burning wolf made of living metal. All of them were angry. All of them were silent. The aliens had never seen anything like this. They had fought thousands of species before. Some were smart. Some were strong. Some had massive fleets and powerful weapons. But none had war like this. Not like Earth. High Commander Virik shouted orders. Call for reinforcements. We need more ships, more soldiers. But no one answered. Many alien ships had already left orbit. Some exploded. Others just vanished. Whole squads were gone without a sound. Fear spread like fire. Earth, the planet they thought was weak, had become a nightmare. In the forests of North America, an alien squad was running. They had seen a giant creature come out of the ground and rip through 3 tanks like paper. They had begged for pickup. No one came. As they ran through the trees, they heard soft footsteps behind them. One by one, they disappeared. No lasers, no screams, just silence. Back in Europe, humans had started to rise from bunkers and hidden tunnels. They weren't afraid anymore. They had seen the machines. They had seen the alien fear. Now they fought. With old guns, with fire, with knives, even with bare hands. And they were winning. Commander Hale stood on top of a broken alien transport. He looked across the battlefield, filled with fire and smoke. He raised his hand. Behind him, hundreds of humans shouted as they charged. Alien soldiers turned and ran. In orbit, the few remaining ships tried to send messages to their homeworlds, but strange signals blocked everything. Some said it was human tech. Others said the planet itself was doing it. Then, Earth sent its own message. Just one sentence, broadcast in every known language. This is not your galaxy anymore. All across the stars, species watched in fear. Earth was not a small blue planet anymore. It was something else now. Something dangerous. Something alive. On Earth, the war machines began to gather. One by one, they moved to the same place, a desert in Central Asia. There, the ground cracked open. Something massive rose. It was not metal. It was not stone. It looked alive, but it was not human. It had no name, no voice. The machines stood around it, silent, waiting. And the humans came too. Old leaders, soldiers, children, farmers, survivors. They looked at the thing in the sand and knew this was the heart of Earth's rage. A weapon made only for one purpose, total war. The thing opened its eyes. The sky darkened. In orbit, Virik stared in silence. His second-in-command whispered, "This is no longer a fight. This is judgment." Virik finally understood. It wasn't just that humans fought hard. It wasn't just that they were smart or angry. It was that Earth had prepared. Not by building fleets, not by making deals, but by burying monsters in the dirt, in the sea, and in the sky. monsters waiting for the day someone pushed too far. And now those monsters were awake. The High Commander gave one last order: retreat. But it was too late. The heart of Earth began to rise from the ground, a glowing shape of fire and stone and wrath. And with it came the final wave. Not machines, not humans, but something in between. The last defenders of Earth. The galaxy had laughed at them. Now the galaxy was silent. The skies over Earth were red, not from sunset, but from fire. Alien ships still floated above, scared to go down, scared to fly away. Below them, the planet burned, not with chaos, but with purpose. Every blast, every quake, every scream came from something Earth had hidden. And now, the last wave was coming. In the desert, the glowing shape, half machine, half fire, had risen fully. It stood taller than anything the aliens had ever seen. Even their biggest warships looked small beside it. It did not speak. It simply pulsed, like a giant heart. Around it, the other war machines stood still, waiting. Humans stood too, quiet, ready, eyes fixed on the sky. Then it happened. The air changed. Wind stopped. Animals went silent. The world held its breath, and the stars above began to blink. No, not blink, disappear. Dozens of alien ships exploded at once. No missiles were fired. No warnings were given. Something unseen was in orbit, something Earth had not used until now. It was never meant to fight in space. It was meant to end space. Above the clouds, massive dark shapes appeared, silent, floating like ghosts. They had no engines, no lights, no heat, just black metal and sharp edges. One alien captain whispered, "Are those ships?" His second officer trembled. "No, they're weapons, old ones, the kind that forget peace ever existed." These were the last wave, Earth's final line. They were not controlled by humans. They were Earth's children, born from its anger, awakened by pain. And now they moved. One by one, the alien fleets were torn apart. Some ships were sliced in half. Others just vanished. No fire, no trace, like they never existed. In one command center, an alien general tried to beg for peace. He sent message after message. "We surrender. We were wrong. Please." No reply came, because Earth wasn't listening anymore. Back on the surface, Commander Hale stood beside the glowing giant. His face was calm. He looked up at the red sky. Beside him stood Mira, a young human scientist. Her voice was low. "Do you think they understand now?" Hale shook his head. "They don't need to understand. They just need to leave." She looked at the dark machines in orbit. What if they don't? He didn't answer. Because far above, something was changing again. A rip opened in space, not from Earth, but from somewhere else. Another alien fleet was coming. Bigger, heavier. The homeworlds had finally reacted. Thousands of ships, millions of soldiers, more than any other battle in the galaxy. They thought it would be enough. But Earth was ready. The last wave was not just weapons. It was will. From every mountain, every forest, every ruin, new shapes came. Beasts made of wind and fire, creatures made of bone and steel, eyes that glowed from the Earth itself. They didn't march. They rose. And for the first time in galactic history, an entire planet fought back. Not just with guns, not just with ships, but with everything it had ever buried. The new fleet entered Earth's orbit, and they saw what waited for them. A planet burning with rage, a sky full of ghosts. And below it all, humans, small, angry, and fearless. One soldier whispered, "They are primitive." Another replied, "Then why do they look like gods?" No one had an answer, because the truth was simple. This wasn't just a battle. This was a warning. Earth had shown its true face, and the galaxy would never forget it. The Second Fleet didn't last long. It came with pride. It left in ashes. The dark shapes in orbit, Earth's final weapons, moved like shadows. No ship could lock onto them. No shield could block them. They tore through the fleet without making a sound. In less than an hour, the sky was quiet again. Broken ships floated above the planet. Some fell. Some didn't even have time to burn. And Earth stood untouched. Humans watched from the ground. Some cheered. Some cried. But all of them knew the truth now. They were not weak. They were not prey. They were something new. Something the galaxy would learn to fear. High Commander Virik had survived. His escape pod floated far from the battlefield. He looked down at Earth, still glowing, still alive, still watching. He knew he had seen something ancient, something that was never meant to be awakened. And now, it was too late to put it back. On the surface, the machines stopped moving. One by one, they returned to their slumber. Some sank into the ground. Others turned to stone. The giant glowing creature in the desert gave off one last bright pulse, then faded into dust. Its job was done. The humans didn't cheer this time. They stood in silence, because they understood what had been unleashed. Not just weapons, not just machines, but the memory of pain, the memory of invasion, the memory of a child who was killed, and a planet that answered with war. In the ruins of an old city, Mira stood on a high wall and looked at the sky. Beside her, Commander Hale said, "Do you think they'll come again?" She shook her head. Not soon. Not while they remember. And when they forget. Mira looked at the stars. Then Earth will remind them. Across the galaxy, all species were watching. The message Earth had sent was clear. We are not what you think. We are not what you want. We are what you fear. In council halls and war rooms, leaders argued. Some wanted to destroy Earth while they still could. Others begged to stay far away. A few simply wept, because they had mocked the humans, called them weak, laughed at their small ships, their old weapons, their strange emotions. But now they knew. The humans had never needed shields. They didn't need the biggest fleet. They didn't need mercy. Because when pushed, humans didn't just fight. They transformed into monsters, into protectors, into nightmares. The child who had died was now a name written in every alien report. He had no rank, no weapons, but his death had started something unstoppable. And deep beneath Earth's surface, something still waited. It wasn't sleeping. It was watching. Because Earth never forgets, and it never forgives. The stars would remember this war, not as a victory, not as a loss, but as a warning. The next time someone dared to harm a human, they would find out. Again, Earth is never defenseless.